Hi, welcome to Pilates for Runners. This session is on stretching for runners. Now, these are going to be 5 stretches that I'm going to show you that I think get the most bang for your buck, basically. I know not every runner likes to stretch or has the time to do a lot of it. So these are the stretches that I use on a day-to-day basis to help me make sure that I've got the movement through my hips and my upper back and through my feet and ankles to make sure that my running form stays as tip-top as it can be. So the only thing you need is a cushion. I'm using a mat, but you could equally do it just on the carpet or on a towel. What I would say is if you are short on time and you think I can't get through this whole session in one go, then pick 1 or 2 stretches to do each day and then just keep them on rotation. And that way you'll make sure that you're targeting all the key areas and you're actually doing something daily, because it's the consistency of doing these that will really make a difference to your mobility and therefore your running form. So yeah, when you're ready, the cushion, if you're using one, is going to go onto your left knee to start. We're going to take the hands to the other end of the mat and just move them over to the left-hand side. And that way we've got a lot of space to bring this right leg forward as far as we can. So it doesn't need to be tight to the body. You can take it outside of the mat. You just want to make sure that your foot is either in front of or under your knee. If you end up here, you're just not going to be able to get as good a stretch. So if you can't do it in one step, inch your foot forwards when you get there. And then we're going to scoop the tailbone under and push the hips down towards the floor. So we start to feel that hip flexor stretch on the left side. And then from there, take your right hand and just encourage this right hip to open out and get a bit of movement in that right hip, a bit of space. As you're doing that, hips press down towards the floor and start to think about your breathing. So a lot of stretching is very dependent on how relaxed we are through the body. If you are very tight through your upper body, you're gripping your jaw, you're very tense through the body, the stretching just isn't going to be as effective because you aren't going to be able to hold it as long, and therefore you aren't going to get as much from the stretch as you probably could do. So big breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then let the jaw relax, let the shoulders stay as loose as you can. So you're trying not to carry tension through the body, and that way the muscles will feel much more comfortable at opening out. When you're ready, hand comes back down. I'm going to tuck the toes on the left side. So get that big toe right the way under. And then when we do this, we're going to get a nice bit of mobility in the big toe, feet and ankles as well. And then as you take a big breath in, push the hips down towards the floor and straighten that back leg on the out breath. And then rest back down. So as you straighten the leg, you're trying to push the hips down. What you don't want to do is straighten the leg and lift, because that will take away the stretch. So straighten the leg and push the hips down at the same time, and that's going to increase then that hip flexor stretch on the left-hand side. And we really want to keep the hips nice and open, because part of our hip drive comes from fully extending that hip. If the hip flexors are very tight and we're not able to extend the hip as much, that's going to affect our drive through the hips. So big breaths in and then exhale as you straighten and press down. Let's see if we can do 3 more. Remember, keep that big toe tucked under to keep the stretch in that foot as well. And then last one. Good, keep down, keep the hips pressing towards the floor. We can take a big breath in, and on the out breath, that right arm is going to sweep up past the ear, rotate, and you're going to reach as far around behind you as you can, still pressing the hips forward. So try not to come out of the stretch as you reach behind, and then it's going to come back. Big breath in, reach behind and back. So we're keeping the hip flexor stretch, and we're adding in this bit of thoracic or upper back mobility, which is really great for our running, because our upper back wants to be tall, it wants to be open in order for us to get the best running form possible. So big breaths as you move, exhale, inhale, return. If you can, start to try and get your forearm down to the floor, and that'll increase the stretch then on this right hip as well. If you can't, don't worry, just get as close as you can. We can do 3 more. 3, 2, 1. Come back, walk the hands towards you, and we're going to change it to stretch 2, which is a hamstring stretch. So as you can see from that first one, it's a hip flexor stretch, but we've added in some foot and ankle, we've added in some stretching for the other hip, we've added in some upper back mobility. So doing as much as you can with each stretch is really helpful. So I've got a wall beside me. This isn't a balance test. So have a sofa, have a chair, whatever you need to help you balance. And this leg is going to straighten at the front now. So right leg straight. We're going to take the tailbone the other way now. So we were tucking it under for the hip flexor stretch. Now we're going to lift up behind us for a hamstring stretch. So I'm going to start by just coming in and out because I find it a little bit easier. I can stay more relaxed. If I go straight into a holding stretch, I find I'm much more likely to tense and then I get that shaking in the muscle. And if you do get shaking when you're stretching, what's happened is the body's stretch reflex has kicked in. So to stop you from overstretching and damaging the muscle, the body will always kick in first and start to shake and stop you from stretching. So it's not going to be an effective stretch. You might as well just release off, start again, and just be a little bit more gentle coming into it. So when you're ready to, if you want to, hold. Again, big breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. This leg doesn't have to be straight. There can be a slight bend in it. You can rest your hands on the floor if that's easier. The key thing is to keep the tailbone lifting rather than rounding and tucking under. So lift the tailbone. Nice big breaths in. And let's say relax the jaw, relax the shoulders, because if we carry that tension in the upper body, it tends to transmit down the body into the hips. So relax the upper body and that will help then through the lower body. Good, 3 more big breaths here. Good, to come out of that, just walk it forward. And then you can come up. And we're going to move this foot back now. This is stretch number 3. This is feet, calves and ankles. So bring the foot under the knee and then just keeping that heel down at the front, just push your weight over that foot. So we end up with a stretch through the feet, a little bit into the calves as well, and definitely into the ankle. So pushing the weight over that ankle. Like I say, just don't let the heel pop up. Keep it down. And again, I'm going to come in and out to start. You can always add a weight to your knee. So hold like a dumbbell or a kettlebell and push that as well, and that will really help increase the stretch. See if you can pause and hold now. So keeping the weight, pressing over, keeping that front heel fixed to the floor. And we really want that ankle mobility because when we run, if you hold that stretch, I'll show you. When we run, we want to be able to roll over that foot and ankle, so get that full range. If the ankle's very stiff, then not only can we not get that forward lean from the ankles, but we're not going to be able to roll over the foot as effectively to power us off and drive us off the ground. So really important to keep that mobility in the ankle. When you're ready, ease off. We're going to bring the heel in a little bit closer. So back toes are tucked now, so that when we sit back, again, we're getting that foot and ankle stretch on that back side. On the left side, and then we're going to take a deeper calf stretch on this right side. So bring the toes in, toes level with the knee if you can, but if that heel pops up, move it forward again, okay? And then again, press down onto that knee, keeping the heel down, and that's going to give you a Achilles stretch. I couldn't think what it was called then. A deeper calf stretch and into the Achilles. So holding that, nice big breaths. Let's say if the heel is popping up, just move it forward a bit because it's a little bit too intense. And then, yeah, nice big breaths. Try and relax and hold it. Try and relax consciously around the back of that heel and calf so we're not gripping. Nice, and just sit back. So we're sat on that back foot for a second, so we really get stretching that back foot. And then release off. This leg is going to go all the way out behind us and then all the way around to the side. This is the neck stretch. So this is inner thighs, adductors. So we want the inner foot to be resting on the floor. The further forward the leg, the harder this is. So if it's too intense, just move the leg back a bit. And then again, we want to drop the belly, lift the tailbone. So we really feel that inner thigh stretching. And then just a little bit of forward and backward to start, keeping the tailbone up, I think helps come into it. When you're ready to, just find the best stretch position for you. And again, just relax through the upper body. So nice big breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. So So our inner thighs do quite a lot when we're running. Obviously they help with hip flexion, but they also help to stabilise the pelvis and the knee. So they're definitely working quite hard when we run. So getting this stretch, making sure that they're as nice and open as they can be is really going to help with the overall hip movement, but also make sure that, we're getting the most from our movement pattern when we run. Nice big breaths. Try to relax around the knee and the hip as you do this one, because sometimes we tense up around the knee and that can restrict the stretch too. So as you breathe out, try and relax the knee joint as well as the hip. And I often like to do stretching while I'm doing something else, so it distracts me. So I'll either get my Kindle or I'll have the TV on. I still focus on my breathing, but it just means that I'm not focused sometimes on that sort of intense feeling of a stretch. You're better off going for a slightly easier stretch, focusing on your breathing and relaxing, or distracting yourself with something else and holding it for a bit longer, but less intense, and that'll be much more effective than forcing yourself into like a 10 out of 10 stretch, but you're only able to hold it for 20 seconds or so. When you're ready to release, come up onto your hands and knees. We're going to hold that stretch, and we're going to take our right hand, thread it through between left hand and knee, bending into the left elbow so we can try and get the right shoulder as close to the floor as possible. And then we unthread, and we're going to take it up and again twist towards the ceiling. Thread through and then twist up. So we're adding in some of that thoracic or upper back mobility that's really important for our upper back when we run. Okay, we've got one more. Open out as much as you can when you open. Come back. Now wide hands, sweep the right leg behind you, and then it's going to come all the way forward so that the knees ends up between the hands. And then we're going to lift that back leg, take it all the way over to the right, and then you're just going to slide it away. Once you've done that, relax down. So hopefully now you're feeling that stretch on your right hip around the back. So we've gone into the glutes now with this final stretch. And again, it's a modified pigeon stretch, so it's really effective. Definitely a really great one for us runners. Try to relax into it. And this is definitely one where I quite like having my Kindle, because I can come down towards the floor and I can hold it for much longer and really chill out in this position. It really helps open out my hips. Nice and relaxed through the jaw, through the shoulders. If you want to, you can rest the forehead on the floor. That's also quite a nice position. And same thing, big breaths in. As you exhale, think relaxing around that right hip. Try to relax it down. When you're ready to come out, come up onto the hands, tuck the toes, walk the leg forward, round behind, and then we can just slide that leg back. Do a little bum wiggle, just to release the hips. And yeah, my right hip definitely feels more open than my left now, so we're going to repeat the whole thing on the other side. So cushion goes under your right knee to help with that, a little bit more comfortable. Hands go to the right hand side of the mat, and then big step forward with the left. So remember, you take a step forward, and then if you need to, inchworm your way with the foot so that the foot is ahead of the knee or underneath it, but not behind it. And then tucking the tailbone under so we can push down and create that hip flexor stretch on the right now. So push down into that stretch, and then left hand goes on the knee, and we're just encouraging that left hip to open out. Pushing it out and in. And again, focus on your breathing so that we're not carrying any tension in the body that's going to restrict our stretching. And then hands to the mat, tuck the toes at the back, so get that big toe under on the right, and then push the hips down as you straighten the leg. So hips down as you straighten. And like I said before, you really can just split these stretches up. So you could just get down on the mat and just on both sides do this sequence for this hip flexor stretching. And then maybe the next day do feet, calves and ankles. possibly a bit of the inner thigh, and then on the third day, do that nice modified pigeon stretch. Good, come back. From there, we're going to take that left hand up and behind, rotate and return. So as you rotate behind you, trying to twist as far as you can, but keeping the hips pressing down towards the floor. Nice big breaths. Rotate as far as you can. If you can, start to get the forearm down. If you can't get all of it, just go for as much as you can and then twist. And that will give us a bit more opening then in that left side. 3. Keep the breath flowing for 2. Last ones. Good, come back. Walk the hands in. We're going to change it to that hamstring stretch. So the front leg straightens. We're going to take the tailbone the other way now. So tip the tailbone out behind you. Remember, the knee doesn't need to be completely straight. You can have a bend in it. The important thing is that tailbone lift. And again, I'm just going to come in and out first because it just makes it a little bit more relaxed for me. Especially if you're cold. I think if you're doing stretching cold, then always a little bit of movement first and then go for the hold. I find that's just a little bit more acceptable for my body. So lift the tailbone. Remember, you can have the hands on the floor. Just don't let the back round. Or have them on a cushion or a chair or a sofa. This is not a challenge for your balance, so don't worry about holding on to things. If you're trying to balance, that's also going to bring tension to the body. So use what you need to, then you can relax. Good, nice big breaths. Good, then release that off by walking the hands forward, and then we can slide that foot back and change it to our foot and ankle stretching. So it's under the knee to start, and then we push forward, get that stretch in the ankle and release. So you want that left heel, that front heel, to stay on the mat. Couple more, and then we're going to pause and hold it. So pause and hold here if you can. And if you need a bit more weight, then you can, like I said before, use a kettlebell or a weight. Good, nice big breaths. Tuck those toes at the back, so the right toe is under, and then we're going to sit back, so we create that stretch on the right foot, and then this foot slides in a bit. It's only going to come as close to your body as you can. Keep the heel down. So if the heel starts to pop up, take the foot forward again. If it's not a deep enough stretch and you can keep the heel down, then by all means bring the foot closer and then push down on that knee again to create that calf, Achilles, ankle stretch. And like I say, this is a really easy one to hold in the evening. So instead of sitting down on the sofa in the evening, before you do, just do 5-10 minutes of stretching and holding. And it'll really, really make a difference. If you can be consistent, it'll really make a difference to your running. Because if your overall movement pattern is better, then definitely your running is going to be better. Good, to release it off, just sit back on that right foot for a second, get that foot stretched there. And then we can walk it forward. Left leg goes all the way behind and then all the way out to the side. Remember, the further forward that left leg goes, the more intense the stretch. We drop the belly, lift the tailbone, and then just come in and out. And then find where the best stretch is for you and just rest down. Big breaths, remembering to relax around the knee joint and into the hip so we're not gripping. Good, nice big breaths. Lovely, come back up onto the hands and knees. Well, onto the hands, I should say. We're already on the knees. We're going to take the left hand this time, thread it through, bending into that right arm so we can get the left shoulder down as far as we can. And then we take it the other way and open out. So thread through and then open out. So really getting that full range of movement through the upper body. That's going to really help us to stay nice and tall and open through the upper body when we run. Good, we're going to do 2 more. Nice big breaths. Good, nice. Wide hands so that we can sweep the left leg behind, then all the way forward so that the knees between I was going to say the feet, but I mean the hands. Knee between the hands. Lift up your right leg, take it all the way over to the left and slide it away. So we end up with a stretch on the left glutes, the left hip round the back. And again, just make yourself comfortable. Rest down. You can rest on the hands with your forehead. Big breaths in. On the out breath, just trying to relax around that left hip. I can't get too comfortable, there's a nod off here. Good, nice big breaths to finish. And then hands come up, tuck the toes on the right, push it forward, and then slide it back. And I always like to finish with a bit of a back stretch because when the hips are really tight, that transmits up into the back, particularly lower back can feel really tight if the hips are tight. So once you've done your hips, do a little cat stretch. So hands and knees on the mat, big breath in, and then you push into the hands and knees as you drive the belly button up to the ceiling. Tuck the tailbone and head under, and then release slowly. Big breath in, and then press on the out breath into the hands and knees, around the spine, and then release. And if that feels good and you want to go a bit deeper, same thing, press into the hands and knees, but stay in your cat stretch and just rock the weight towards your feet and back. Just back, keeping that tailbone tucked under, and that's just going to gently increase that lower back stretch, which is really nice. And then release. Tuck both sets of toes, and then just see if you can sit back. So we just do that foot and ankle stretch to finish. And we are done. I hope you found that helpful. If you've got any questions at all, then just drop me an email. But like I say, try and break it down. If you find that stretching is not your thing, ease it off a little bit. Don't go as deep with the stretches, but try and hold it longer and do 1 or 2 stretches a day so that you go round on rotation so you make sure you're getting all the key areas. Thanks very much for taking part.